What's going on, everybody? It's EricRayweather back here, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you one of the best coverage defenses in Madden 19, how to create a true no-fly zone and really make it tough for your opponent to pass. So let's get into it. The formation we're going to be looking at today is the nickel 3-3-5, and the play that we're going to talk about is the 3 double buzz. Now, the 3 double buzz is been good for the past couple years. I actually broke this down very early in Madden 18 because it was very good then, and it's still pretty good again this year. You can find the nickel 3-3-5 in the Ravens playbook. I believe also the Chiefs defensive playbook. I would recommend using the Ravens if you want to use this formation. If you have custom playbooks, of course, you could put it in there as well. Now, there's like a couple good things about this play in my opinion. Number one, first, let's just kind of go over the brief setup. So what you want to do is always base align, which is wire triangle and then right on the left stick, because this is going to ensure that both of your safeties play the hook zone. And then I like to shade down my cover threes and play hard flats, and I'll get into why in a minute. But to shade down, you press wire triangle down on the right stick. So literally, that's, as far as the setup goes, that's really it. The only other thing mainly is make sure that the deep middle linebacker kind of stays down here. Every once in a while, if you come out in this play, he might try to like wander off and drift back here. Just make sure that you always have him down here at linebacker depth in the box, because it's just better positioning for this. So why this is kind of more of an interesting style of cover 3 is because typically a cover 3 has the free safety, or if you flip it, it would be the strong safety. But you have one of the safeties in a deep zone, and the middle linebacker is playing an underneath role with the other safety. But this is a little bit different. Having both of these safeties in these hook curls here, they play very aggressive over the middle. They kind of just make the passing lanes a little bit tougher to read, and most people aren't used to that because when most people practice their offenses, they practice against, you know, basic man, cover 2, cover 3. That's what most people do, and basic cover 3 doesn't set up this way with the middle linebacker dropping deep and both safeties playing over the middle. So it's a little bit confusing for your opponent to read because it's not the exact type of setup they're used to going against. That's number one. Number two, the middle linebacker in the deep blue defends a lot of times, passes over the deep middle better than a safety does. Reason being is because the safety lines up, 10 yards behind that linebacker typically. So what happens in Madden a lot, not necessarily like in real football, but in Madden, is sometimes a safety will just kind of backpedal his way out of the play a little bit and allow routes like posts and deep in routes or just whatever have you kind of just get underneath them, whereas the linebacker, because he starts at linebacker depth, he's kind of getting to that area of the field the same time that some of those deep routes are, and he's in better position to at least try to make a play on it, get a hand on the ball, maybe pick it off if you have a good zone coverage guy there. So those are kind of the two interesting things about this. Now, usually I'm going to user this guy here. I'll just put him in whatever zone, and then I'm going to user him, and we'll just do a basic 3-man rush. Now, the pass rush might not be the greatest because you're only rushing 3, but you can leave this guy blitzing and rush 4, which I'll get into later in the video. Now, shading underneath, what that does is it guarantees that you're going to take away the short routes. There's really going to be no flats open. Drags are going to be hard to throw because in Madden, especially this year, even if you play them deep, they're not going to defend the deep crosses. They're not going to defend the really deep corner routes. You have to manually take those away anyway, so you might as well shade underneath and at least ensure that they can take away the short stuff, and then you worry about the deep stuff because you still have to do that regardless of how you're playing on defense. You have to use the deep stuff anyway. So basically, you just decide what you want to do with your linebacker. You try to jump the route, but you can see nothing just like immediately comes open. You have to actually wait for a passing lane to open, and they don't open right away. So you see here, if I want to go dump down on the flats, cornerbacks all over it. If I want to dump down to this flat, this linebacker's right here. I mean, he might catch it for a yard or two, but he's going to get hit, potentially fumble, or just get a very minimal gain. You see right here, I'm with Miles Jack kind of over the middle, and then very last second I bail out to cover this corner. So if you were to throw this here, all I got to do is pretty much just hold Y, and I'll ball hawk in the air and pick that off. You can see here what I'm talking about with the safety. Watch how the safety plays, how he gets down and aggressive, and he gets on Hogan, kind of follows him for just a little bit, and then he passes it off to this guy. So here, we could try to fit this in, but what's going to happen here is you got the other safety coming down. He can lay a hit on this, jar the ball loose, or potentially jump it. I'm just kind of showing you how things develop on this play. Again, you got a deep post here to Edelman, but look, like I said, the linebacker is in much better position, whereas the safety right here would be further back in the back of the end zone, and he wouldn't be able to really make a play on it. Whereas if we throw this to Edelman, there's a chance at least that Smith can make a play on the ball. So again, you just base the line, shade underneath, user this guy. Now, yes, if you're dealing with a fast QB, then you might have to go ahead and put this guy in a spy, and then maybe you user the deep guy yourself. That's something you could do, or you could user, one of these safeties yourself. I tend to try to stay away from using the safeties because I like letting them roam over that short middle. But just show an example. Let's say you user this guy. Just know that you have to get deep. You have to get deep, and there we got a good block shed. You can't expect that to happen every time, but if you have good pass rushers, block sheds will happen in your favor sometimes. So you got to know who you're playing. If you're playing a Brady or a Breeze, somebody like that, you don't need the spy. The pass rush is fine, but if you're playing a Vic, you're playing a Lamar Jackson, then you might want to have a fast guy here, put him in a spy, and use the deep guy, but just make sure that you take care of your deep responsibility. When you're using a deep zone, you don't want to get too aggressive and jump routes. You have to stick to your assignment, or you could give up a one-play touchdown. So if you don't feel comfortable doing that, then I would say you can use one of these guys, but I typically, I like leaving them kind of to roam themselves. But otherwise, just use this guy and just do what you want. Like I said, here I'm going to try to take away the corner. If I try to throw this here, we see, okay, we did complete it, but that was a tight window. Gibson honestly didn't even attempt to make a hit on the cornerback or on the wide receiver there, which was just unfortunate for us. But just kind of showing you that, you can absolutely, at least give it a tight passing window, make your opponent have to force a pass that he doesn't want to do. Again, if you try to quick dump down to the flats, you've got guys all over it, swatted there, but if he's just a step closer, if he's a little bit better of a cornerback, that's a pick going for 6 the other way. Same thing on the other side. Like I said, if we try to take this quick dump down here to James White, again, that should have been a pick going the other way, but that's not a great linebacker. If you're playing mud, of course, you probably have a lot of studs everywhere, so this type of defense is even better. But if you're playing regs, just kind of know who you have where. You kind of try to put the best zone guys you got on the field to succeed. Again, because we're playing this more aggressive and underneath, if we try to throw like a drag route, for instance, you'll notice, watch how aggressive that safety comes down. Now, look what happened there. And yes, you're not going to get that type of a tip pick every time. I'm not going to BS you on that, but what that safety did there is key, because this is what having these double hook zones, they play different. They just play different than regular hook zones in this play. We're running a drag. Look how far back this safety is from the drag, but as soon as he sees that drag, look how aggressive he gets. Even if this isn't a drop, he's getting hit right in his tracks for a 2.5, 3 yard gain at most. You can't live like that, throwing a 2 to 3 yard route all game long. He gets down, but he's in perfect position to lay a hit, whereas the previous play when we threw the deep end, he didn't lay the hit, which was just unfortunate. That happens sometimes. Here, this is what you can expect to happen a lot of times, because he's in that position where he's rallying down to the ball, lays a hit, and we actually were lucky enough to get a tip pick off of it. But in most cases, you're just kind of looking for an incompletion there, and even still, incompletion is great. That means you won the down. And that's not a fluke. They're going to play aggressive like that every time on those underneath routes. We'll do it again. Throw him on a drag. We try to throw this. He is right there. And then the other linebacker's in a flat too. We got a 1 yard gain there on a drag. That's what I love about this, is you really can't take anything short against this play. And then the only thing you have to worry about is whatever deep route is there. So I see a corner developing, that's on me to take away. If there's a deep cross, that's on me to take away. And then I'm just going to wait for the block shed to eventually get there, or hope that they force, just a bad pass, because most people just throw bad passes when something's not wide open. They try to thread a needle, and it just doesn't work out for them. If we throw a drag on the opposite side here, we can manually cover that ourselves. But you see that safety rallying down to the ball and limiting it to a 2 yard gain. You don't get that type of rally down to the ball out of a lot of typical plays. You can still usually, even when you shade down, a lot of times, if you're really good, you can thread a needle and fit a drag in there for 4 yards sometimes, which is decent, because that means every 3 plays you'd be advancing the chains and getting a first down. You can't do that with this play, because these safeties, they rally down to the ball because we're shading underneath, and they're not going to, right there we got 3 yards, and that's the best case scenario, but they're rallying down and they're making that window tight, and they're increasing the chance that they hit you, make you fumble, make you drop the ball, things like that. Now, if you want a little bit better pass rush, you can leave this guy blitzing. That's just going to ensure that one of your defensive ends block sheds a little quicker. So again, in a situation like this, you can either use the middle linebacker or, one of the safeties. You see how good the safeties play on their own, so I prefer to use the middle linebacker in this, scenario. But I know I have to get deep here and take this away, and you see just how quick the block sheds came in on that. Now, it's not going to happen that quick every play, obviously. Like, I'm not going to lie to you there. But you're going to get that with good pass rushers every few plays or so. And you get a better chance of that happening by, you know, rushing that fourth guy there. So if you want a little better pass rush, rush the fourth guy. One last thing you can do with this that is, it can be pretty good, is you can take the outside linebackers and cross man them. Now in this situation, you might want to sub safeties in here, which you can do because they'll typically have better man coverage. So you might want to sub safeties in at your outside linebacker. They're also faster, so that can really help you as well. So like for instance right here, I can take Miles Jack and I can man him up on Edelman. I'm cross manning him, so if I expect him to run anything across the field, he can, you know, meet him midway and take that away. I can take this flat zone over here and I can cross man like Chris Hogan, for example. Now these guys right here don't have good man coverage, so they might still get beat. But again, if you're playing an ultimate team or something like that and you have really good safeties that have good man coverage, you can sub them in here and they can play good as well. And then in a situation where you're cross manning, then you might want to actually use one of these hook zones here. Like for instance, I'm leaving the flat open on the left, so now I would kind of take that flat responsibility myself and try to cover that up. You see, like try to take that away briefly and then, you know, get back up the middle of the field, try to jump a route or something like that. Again, the cross man isn't going to work on him there because the guy I have in at that spot he's a really bad linebacker. I'm not even sure who this guy is for the Jags. But if you have a good, you know, safety here with man coverage, what he's going to do, instead of getting cooked like this, he's going to cut the same time Hogan cuts right now, and he's going to run with him the other way. You can see Miles Jack a little bit better of a defender, how he defends the post. You see, if we can get the camera on him, he's running this way, and as the post cuts, he's cutting with the post. Now he's obviously not as fast, so he's getting, you know, a little bit behind here, but if you have speed and decent man coverage here, he would lock this post down by himself, and you would get that same thing out of this guy here, this number 35. If he was like a safety, he wouldn't get cooked like this. He would actually be able to defend Hogan and run with him across the other side of the field. So that's another thing to do with this play is cross man. So very good cover 3 style play, very interesting type play, very good pass defense to use. So definitely mix it in and see what it can do for you. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, as always, just drop a like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.